Auto Remarkable Results Radio. I have an interesting episode for you. Now, if you don't like beer, you could just turn off the recorder. Just get about it. But although I enjoy my bourbon, I do like an occasional beer. So, what's that got to do with our podcast episode today? We're with Kimberly and Andrew, more known as Butch. Am I right, Butch?
That's correct.
Kimberly and Butch Taylor from Titan Auto and Tire, 3-store operation, and the fourth is on the way. Is that rumor?
That's factual. That is a fact.
That's a great thing. Mosley, North and South Chesterfield, is that kind of the area that you're in Virginia?
That's correct. Just south of Richmond, 20, 30 minutes south of Richmond and west of Richmond.
Wow, cool. Well, I can't wait to hear about this great business and, getting the fourth store started. But this couple here is building, and in a few months will open a brewery, a craft brewery. And so if you're looking for a departure from fixing cars to make them safe and reliable to, well, come on in and have a beer, I just think this is such a great departure. I was sitting next to Kimberly and Butch at a meeting a few years ago, and I'm hearing this, wow, this brewery thing, and we're building. And I said, wow, this is so interesting. Well, a few years later, a year and a half later, here we are ready to talk about it. And you've been working on that a long time. So really, a bunch of really cool stuff going to come out at the end. But what I find fascinating to our listener is that you can't do a craft brewery if you want to be the chief cook and bottle washer. You can't run a great multi-store operation if you want to be the chief cook and bottle washer. You got to have great people to work for you, right?
Absolutely.
When you decided to find the opportunity for store 2, were you guys ready for that?
Yeah, we kind of were. We had a good team in place. We were running an 8-bay shop, running, a little bit over $1 million, 1.2 a year out of that shop. We were ready for that. I was able to come up here. I installed all the equipment myself and get the business going for, a couple of 3, 4, 5 months before I got a good management team in place. And even after that, we opened up our second store in 2014, and it was probably well into 2015 before I could really start stepping away a little bit. I rounded out the team pretty well. Things started clicking. The new store just took off like wildfire. I mean, it's our top producing store right now. And then, of course, we added our third store last year, and we've got one more this year, maybe 2 more.
Was third easier for you, Butch?
So the first 2 we started from scratch. They were not existing businesses at all. So it took a little bit of time to get the ball rolling a little bit, but not too bad. The third store was an existing store that was sick, is one way to put it. It wasn't a real healthy store at the time. It had been through a transition back to the original owner for a couple months. So it's been a little tougher getting it staffed and getting the right people in there. What we have that now. We got a really good team over there, and we're starting to see the results of all that.
Kimberly, chime in anytime.
Sure. I would say the second store, it was challenging because we were successful in our first store, but the second store, you have to take that success, you have to take those procedures and processes and actually put them on paper, and getting that out of your head and really provide, to keep that reputation and to keep those good practices and bring them to the second store was a challenge. So by the time the third store came around, we really had things down fairly well. There's always room for improvement, but third and fourth store much easier because we have good people in place. We have policy and procedures in place, and that's what it takes to be consistent.
Well, that's what I kind of hear all the time. Oh my God, we have policies and procedures. We think at the first store, we're not even quite sure how to make them stick at the second store. Oh, for both. Who's kidding? Thank you for saying that, because I think that's a critical, important thing for growth. But since you started them both from scratch, and now store 3 was it was a sick puppy, and you found a great opportunity. We want to talk to the shop owners that are listening. Okay, I get this, start from scratch, find a piece of property, either build something or find an old closed, national franchise and take it over. But in store number 3, were you putting out feelers? Did you make a phone call? Did you stop in for coffee? What's some of the possibilities of people growing, and how are they finding those stores?
First of all, you got to know you're in a position to be ready for that, right? So you got to be in a financial position. Like Kim said, you've got to be in a position where you can transition into a store, whether it's healthy or not healthy, it doesn't matter. But, you got to be consistent. Titan Auto and Tire has to be consistent amongst all its locations, because we have customers that visit multiple locations. So you have to be consistent. So you got to be ready for that. And then, then you start putting your feelers out, your Napa rep, some of your reps, BG reps, and find out who may be on the market. We have a fleet manager that works part-time for me, and he takes care of our fleet accounts, works 2 days a week. And I kind of put him on the street. He's a ex-business owner, happens to know just about every shop in the state of Virginia in his previous role, which I won't divulge that. But anyway, so I kind of said, hey, spend a day doing your fleet work and spend a day knocking on doors, finding out who's ready to maybe retire or just tired and ready to get out. So that's one approach.
So if it wasn't an individual like that, Butch, you could still have done that yourself, right?
I could. Yeah.
Would you have
absolutely.
wanted to? Would you have wanted to?
I mean, I do that occasionally now.
Okay.
Kind of made it a chore or a task for him to do. He's pretty good at talking and people, and kind of falls in his wheelhouse where, even when you're just running 2 stores, you can be, you don't have a general manager, you don't have, so, you're running the operation.
Yeah.
So the time is not always there. And of course, we had the brewery problem. So that certainly consumes a lot of time.
Hey, it's no secret. We're facing a technician shortage, and Napa Auto Care has a solution with the Napa Auto Care Apprentice Program. The program was pioneered by one of our own. Pete McNeil and Master Technician Jake Sorensen from McNeil's Auto Care in Sandy, Utah, realized that the problem of not having technicians available for hire was not going to solve itself, and decided to take action and look at a different audience of individuals available for hire. A focus was put on younger individuals with the right passion, desire, and attitude to work in the automotive repair industry. Jake and Pete sought after these individuals and developed a technician apprentice program to give them the training needed to become a successful technician in today's world. The Napa Auto Care Apprentice Program includes a comprehensive 9-stage curriculum that includes a variety of types of training, and they are classroom training videos exclusive to the apprentice program. Now, these videos provide in-depth training from a successful master technician. Also, Autotech classes with instructor-led courses offered through Napa Autotech and Autotech e-learning. This web-based e-learning is designed to target specific training topics. And finally, hands-on learning. The apprentice will apply the skills gained from the classroom training videos, Autotech instructor-led training, and Autotech e-learnings in the shop with the guidance of a mentor. The apprentice program curriculum is competency-based, meaning an apprentice can move through each stage at a pace that best suits them. Most apprentices complete the program within 2 years. Upon completion, apprentices will have earned ASE G1, A4, A5, and AC certifications, adding industry validation to the skills an apprentice acquires. Look, having an apprentice in your shop will ultimately benefit your bottom line as they advance through the program. And in most cases, as the apprentice develops their skill set producing billable hours, you'll begin to see a growth in your gross profit by stage 5. One of the largest barriers to entry for individuals looking to enter the automotive repair industry is the cost of tools. Now, keep your apprentice motivated with an apprentice toolkit. Now, Napa Auto Care has worked with our supplying partners to offer an exclusive comprehensive tool set, including a 4-drawer tool cart for all registered apprentices. Hey, to learn more, members can visit member.napaautocare.com. Is part of the challenge of taking on a 6 store is getting your culture ingrained in there without, or maybe possibly going to lose some people or keep your people?
Absolutely. Yeah, you create that culture. In it, my general manager, he was a store manager for me for 5 years, and I promoted him to general manager. And his unofficial title is CRO, Chief Repetition Officer.
Oh, I love that. Same time, same place, every day, do it like this, right?
I grew up in manufacturing, and I worked manufacturing for 21 years. The procedure in manufacturing, in life, certainly the procedures here is, it's simple on paper and sounds simple, but it's very difficult to attain, is say what you do and do what you say. And if you're not going to do what you say, then change what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect.
put the process down, put the SOPs down, and do it that way. And it's not doable, or you need to change, then change it and say you're going to do it differently, and then do it that way, and just do it every time. I preach to my guys all the time. Look, we say that we're going to vacuum out the driver's side floorboard. I don't care what it looks like. Every car gets the driver's side floorboard vacuumed out. We clean windshields. We say we clean windshields, clean the windshields.
Okay, so you came from manufacturing. You weren't a technician, and you were basically an entrepreneur who said, "This looks like fun."
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know what I was thinking, but looking back now, it's a good decision. But the early years were very difficult.
So I have this really wild question: would you have opened a brewery back then, or a shop?
Definitely a shop.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely a shop.
Wow.
The auto repair industry is a great industry to be in. If you do it and do it right, it's a great industry to be in.
Wow.
We've been doing this for so long. There wasn't even, craft beer wasn't even in our vocabulary in Virginia at that point. It was just all Miller Lite and Coors. And so, yeah.
It's such an incredible, on fire industry. I mean, I would love to be on a committee that invents the names of the beers.
Okay. You have to taste it first.
I'll taste it. I have no problem tasting it. But there are some of the most, here in Buffalo, we've got beers named Buffalo this and something like that. I find it fascinating. I'm not a high hops guy. I don't like, I can't stand the bitterness of hops. But whenever we go out with friends and we go to a craft brewery, I always have to ask, is this going to kill my throat? Because it's just my taste buds, I think, that just don't. But my son loves a very bitter beer, but I don't. And I find it, this is great. You like a Blue Moon, or you like something, I think Pilsner, I'm guessing, is a less hoppy beer. Am I right?
That's correct.
My whole objective here, Kimberly, is to learn about beers. You understand that?
And for the record, Kim, I am also a bourbon person.
Ooh, I love that. He is a bourbon person.
Yeah, my lovely wife got me a subscription. I think it's bi-monthly subscription to a bourbon club, and they come in the mail every other month.
What's your favorite?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
They're different, but they're all good.
It's the way the bottle looks, right? Mm-hmm.
For the most part. She fusses at me because I keep all the empties. I said, that's the graveyard down there.
Woodford is mine. I love Woodford. And somebody sent it to me, and I didn't realize how expensive it was. And then I went to rebuy it. I go, oh my, no wonder why. But anyway, in the brewery, are you going to have a spirits?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna do signature cocktails and then one-offs.
How cool is that?
And also wine.
Oh, there you go. Then I'll be there. I mean, is it going to be box wine or real wine?
People love a brewery experience. They don't necessarily always like beer. So, trying to make it inclusive for everybody. And so it's a destination for the area.
You're big in your community. You do a lot of great things. You've been awarded in 2014 the Small Business of the Year from Chesterfield Chamberlain. Kimberly, are you involved in the Virginia House of Delegates?
I am. I've been representing the 63rd House District for 18 months and absolutely love doing this, serving my community and making a difference.
Is that a voting position, or is it a appointed?
It is. Elected, yes.
Wow. How nice. Is Butch your campaign manager?
No.
He's the first gentleman of the 63rd.
The first gentleman. That is just too cool. I love that. Oh my God.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kim Taylor.
And by the way, I just got done watching a Netflix series called The Diplomat.
Oh boy, yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'm not seen that.
Yeah. Please watch that, because the husband becomes the wife, the diplomat wife. But anyway, It's a very, very interesting story. By the way, Kim, do me a favor. If and when you watch that, let me know, email me and tell me that that's what the behind the scenes politics is really
That's
like.
funny.
Let me know that.
There have been a few conversations and a few times where I said, "Wow, I'm in House of Cards."
Oh, see, that is
Very
it's
interesting
probably
stuff.
true. So what are you guys working on in Virginia right now? Any legislation on right to repair, anything automotive?
I actually just spoke to one of our lobbyists yesterday about the right to repair because we've got some information about a federal right to repair. Looking at that, and I serve on the transportation committee, so I hear quite a bit of legislation along those lines, including public safety, and we had interesting legislation regarding Tesla this past session. So we definitely need more right to repair, less regulation in Virginia. I just passed a tax bill that impacts small businesses. It has to do with diagnostic and a tax on diagnostic and shop supplies. And so that was a big victory for the industry here in Virginia because so many of our small businesses, our small shops were getting audited and we're just costing them thousands of dollars in fees and time. And some businesses can absorb that and they can make it through, and others it's ending for the business. And so it's really been exciting to fight for our industry and protect it.
I just love this because we've done a show on, getting to Washington, meet and greet your legislators, get to, stop and visit the office of a legislator. I guess it could be state or it could be federal, but, just to go out and say, run for office like you did. Tell somebody, how do you start? I mean, do you knock on somebody's door? What do you do?
I knocked on 33,000
Well,
doors,
first you find, yeah. 2020 came along and just devastated the economy in Virginia, and I got really upset. I saw small business after business closing their doors, and fortunately our industry was essential. We were able to stay open, but I said, no, I have to do something, and got a great team together. I had never run for any office before, and so I had a great team, great amount of support. And like you said, we just knocked doors, and we got it done. It was absolutely amazing. And every day doing this is just incredible.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are you a rule maker or a rule breaker?
Breaker.
I asked
well, it depends.
Kim, Butch.
If I'm in the district, it's different. A little out of the district, it's a different story. But no.
Kim was the first Republican to ever be elected into the 63rd House of Representatives for the state of Virginia.
Whoa.
Ever.
Whoa, what a message.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm thinking of is that you had a great message for the electorate. They were waiting for someone like you to come along.
Yes, absolutely. We need pro-business legislators in Virginia and across the country because small businesses, they're still suffering. And, we're constantly trying to reimagine what the new normal is going to look like. So we need legislation and regulation or less regulation, however you look at it, to make that happen.
We've done shows on the new normal, but we couldn't figure it out.
It's not been figured out.
No, you're right, Butch.
No.
You get a panel of people, and there's the new normal in politics. There's the new normal in family. There's the new normal in social, and there's the new normal. There's so many different new normals. And I recall back in my younger days, we didn't have to worry about this. It was common sense and normality. It just seemed to me. And now it's fractionalized so much. Do you ever think it'll kind of slowly congeal back?
I would hope, but I don't think life will ever be what it was. I think we just have to make the best of what we have and just keep working towards improvement, whatever that looks like. We had to drastically change how we did business. We were doing concierge service during the pandemic, and our stores were vastly different in how people were responding. It was quite interesting. But it's like, after that ended, restrictions lessened, we did carry on with the concierge service, but then people wanted to return to life as normal. Unfortunately, we didn't have to do that, but once you start a service like concierge, picking up people's cars from their homes, it's a scary thought to, when things go back to normal, when business returns to its levels, the same level it was, what does that look like? Do we have to hire more people? It's been very interesting living through that and just pivoting constantly to make it work.
Well, then you have just brought up the next topic we need to talk about. What is changing since the pandemic for you guys? Are you still doing concierge?
We have a loaner car program. We have a shuttle. One of our stores is pretty close to Chesterfield County Government Center. So we have a van that we shuttle people back and forth in that. But the loaner cars seem to work really, really well for all of our stores. We have late night pickup. So we've got the lock boxes we installed from Napa where, we can give them a code. We text it to them so they can pick up after hours. So it is kind of normal. I mean, for what it is, I mean, we still have a lot of Zoom meetings.
So the things that you implemented during the pandemic, i.e., the key drop. I mean, I think everybody made sure that there was a touchless type of relationship. Do you see that continuing more, or are people dropping off and coming in? And are any
Yeah.
waiters? Any waiters?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's for the most part, it's pretty much normal. We did the key thing more to cut our hours back a little bit. We were open till 6 p.m. and guys in here from 7 till 6 is a long day. So we cut our hours back a little bit and not missed a beat.
I love that. How many people have a fear, Butch, of making such a drastic decision and what will
Yeah.
happen to my business? I'll tell you, I'm getting ready to do an episode with Dr. David Wyman about fear and how it sometimes
Change.
overwhelms us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Saturdays were the same thing. I mean, we were open on Saturdays for, 14, 15 years, I guess. And, finally I said, you know what? Employees don't like working Saturdays. I don't like working Saturdays. So let's stop. And had a good friend that we're both friends with. And he says, just stop. And next thing I know, sales are going higher. Then we're not working Saturdays. Employees are more happy. They're sticking around a little bit longer. Easier to acquire employees. I mean, you just can't be something to everybody.
go down the list. Wow. Powerful. Good for you. Kimberly, do you work in the business every day?
Not every day. I used to, but I guess for the last probably 3 or so years, we've gotten staffed to the point where I don't need to be there to answer the phones. Like he said, Bruce, our general manager, is floating around. He's taking care of a lot of the things that we used to. And so that's part of the reason I got into politics was I had the time. I was working a couple days a week and timing was right with my daughter being grown. And so it was really exciting that I was able to come and go and do that and have that freedom.
I find it so interesting to want to know this. What kind of hours do you have to put in for the government for your role there?
Oh, it could be completely full time if I wanted it to be. It's
Oh,
very hard
okay.
to. I block off a couple days a week to work, and I've got a legislative assistant who's fantastic, and so he picks up the slack and does a lot of work in the background with constituent services for me. And I try to stay as flexible as I can, whether it's for politics or the business. Just try to be flexible and move around as needed.
For both of you, the question about this pending recession, and I'll tell you, I know what things are costing. I know it's finally, I feel like there's a vice going on. The more and more shop owners I talk to saying, we're slowing down a little bit. Is it finally sinking into people, or have some of these major layoffs? And why does it take almost a year for it to sink into people and then they start being conservative as far as spending? Are you seeing that?
We've not seen it as far as on our P&L. We've not seen it as far as car count. They've got to get their car fixed somewhere. You just got to be in the top half of the industry on the customer service side and on the mechanical side. And, if you're in the, top 25%, which I feel like we're even higher than that,
Yeah.
I'm biased, of course, but, people still have to get the work done. The pandemic created a lot of work from home people. So, obviously you see a little bit of a decline when something like that, people don't drive as much. So,
Yeah.
you're not seeing them as often. So you have to get a little creative to bring them back into the shop.
So happy for
We were
you
just
that.
at a
Go ahead.
We were just at the Virginia Automotive Association convention this past weekend, and they had a CPA giving a presentation about, just general tax information and advice to run your shop. And he brought up the fact that the average car payment is what, $715, $716. I just absolutely amazing. So sadly, in our business, people are, and with the current state of things, people are holding on to their cars longer, and it's rather easy to convince someone to repair their car when they're, looking at a $800 car payment.
And that CPA was Hunt Demarest.
It was.
And Hunt on the Aftermarket Radio Network. We produce Hunt's show for him. Glad to have him in our fold. And Hunt did an episode that released today and talked about being at the Virginia Association, speaking to the group, and said a lot of what I'm going to tell you today is what I talked about last weekend. And the title of his episode today that came out in reference to all that is, Where Did All the Cash Go?
Yeah. Check that out.
Yeah. How many people at the end of the day say, what do you mean I owe X in taxes? It's not in the bank. And, poor cash management. But it was a really interesting episode. Of course, references his speech at Virginia. So cool. You had mentioned pivot, Bruce. Kimberly, I can't remember which one of you said that. What was the most recent pivot you made that you never would have expected?
I'm not really sure. I think the desire to continue to add a lot of shops is where we're at right now. We want to quickly multiply and grow our shop area, and not to the point, not looking at 100 or anything like that, or not even 50, but because we don't want to lose the small town feel, the mom and pop feel to people, but we do want to expand. So I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
Well, it's another rabbit hole we could go down, but because I do believe you're in a group that, really considers that multi-store ownership is a wealth builder. I don't think it's a bad idea if you could do it smart and right, and of course continue to make, good money, pay your people well. It's that incredible entrepreneurial formula that some people get and got, and it's not hard for them to continue to grow. And people that have grown just because they wanted to notch an ego and a belt is wrong, and they do poorly, and ultimately they atrophy and they go away. But so many of the owners, Butch, that I know in the industry that are doing so damn well, they're working their butts off building an organization, not fixing cars, not talking to the clients, not doing profit and loss statements, but building leading an organization.
Yeah, correct. And you got to have a good team around you. We've got an incredible team here at Titan Auto and Tire, and so it allows me the flexibility to. I was at one of my shops this morning. It's the first time I'd been there in 2 weeks. The great team allows me the flexibility to grow our business. The brewery is coming online soon. So I think I've already worked 40 hours this week out there, and it's only Thursday afternoon. It allows me that flexibility to do that, and adding more shops, whether it be 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 is really my job now. I used to say my job was, and it still is, don't get me wrong, but to take care of the employees. That's all. I don't answer the phones. I know how to, but I couldn't transfer a call. I couldn't check somebody out. That's not what I do anymore.
And that's a good thing, because if you could, you'd get in their way and they'd say, Butch, don't you have something to do?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think moving to the second and third store is honestly, it forces you to take your hands off of those everyday things and look at the bigger picture. And I know it was absolutely insanely nerve-wracking for him to take his hands off of things, but there was a huge change, and I think I noticed a lot more freedom, because he knew he couldn't be somewhere all day long, and he had to delegate and give away some of that responsibility. So I think the second and third shops were the right move for us, and being a part of that group that you mentioned has been life-changing. having that camaraderie and the mentorship and the friendship with those other shops has just been invaluable. You can never learn all those things on your own. You just can't.
Never. So when somebody says, I can't afford to hire a coach, what would you tell them?
Can't afford not to hire it.
Cannot to.
Get it. I get it. And, I don't know how many podcasts I have to say that in. For my goal, every time we do an interview, we drive common themes, if you will, and do a lot of education through the wisdom of couples like you. I'm always hoping, that one more person comes over the line and makes that 25%, 30%. And in the industry just blossoms and grows, and we can get more people to realize that they've got to be a better leader and a better business person. And, finding the mini MBA comes from coaching and networking groups, and just not trying to be the smartest person in the room and putting your ego on the shelf. But you guys get all that. I know that. So regarding being 40 hours over at the new place, over at the brewery, are you having any fun?
It's construction. It's a 10,000 square foot building on 10 acres, got a full restaurant inside of it. It's a lot of money that's going in one direction right now.
Did you hear that in his voice, everyone? Did you hear that?
I'm anxious to get the money coming in a different direction. If anybody's ever considering doing what we're doing, I would be glad to sit down over a beer and talk with them about it.
I love it. Exactly. I knew you were going to say that. I'd talk them out of it. Hey, let's talk about the brewery now. Did you guys have the land and said, what are we going to do with this?
Nope. It started at a Christmas party, and we were going to do a real small, something kind of small. Actually, at one of our repair shops, I had an extra 1,500 square foot of retail space, and I had a mezzanine space available for brewing. And it got really complicated to do it here, and not enough parking, had to have separate entrances. So we started looking elsewhere and looked at a lot of different options. The options just never seemed to pan out. And so we just, we had a small team together. We sat in a room one day, and one of the guys goes, if money's not an option, what does your dream place look like? And about 2 months later, Kim and I bought 10 acres about 3 miles from one of our shops in an area that we know very well, right? We know the customer base. It's a very affluent area, a lot of families and stuff like that. And so we bought the property in April of 19, and we're well on our way when everybody knows what happened in 2020, right? We dug the well the day after the governor shut the state down because it was already on the schedule. And then things just kind of, stopped for almost 2 years.
Oh, wait a minute. What, you dug a well?
Yeah.
For your water?
That's correct.
Does beer have water in it?
It's mostly water.
It was kind of important.
Okay. I live in the country, and I have a well, and I have really good water. I have a little cool mini treatment.
I'm drinking
plant.
well water right now.
Attaboy. All right. Okay. So did you have to make sure that you had a well that could, of course, support a brewery? I bet, right?
Yeah, and it's a little it's on the edge of yay or nay, but it's yay. So
okay, good. Well, then you just pump it all day into some holding tanks, and when you need to brew, you just transfer, right?
Yeah,
what do I know about that?
I just bought an 8,500 gallon holding tank today, actually.
I can't believe it. I already know about brewing, right? I'm just guessing. Sign me up. So the place is called Hidden Wit Brewing Company. And please do me a favor. You're listening to this. Just go to your website, go to the web and type in Hidden Wit Brewing Company and check out this, immense facility that you're building, 10,000 square feet. You're going to have banquet and dining and drinking areas.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of outdoor
private event space eventually, and outdoor space.
Wow. And as I kept digging into the website, I started to get fascinated by your entrepreneurialism. And what I kept seeing is we hired this brewmaster, we hired the food person. And I said, these are brilliant people. It's not like Butch and Kim are out there saying, we're going to do all this. You hired experts.
That's correct. Yeah.
It's a perfect analogy to what you're doing on the service side.
Yeah.
Build a team and let them go.
When I would go to the brewery after we get open, my full intention is to literally holding a beer in my hand and walking around talking to people. That's that's the extent of my job over there right now. Not even that I
Wow.
won't even be doing the accounting. I mean, I'll be getting reports, obviously, like I do here,
Sure,
but
sure.
it's you don't have to do it all. There are people out there that do things that specialize in areas, and that's what they do, and that's what you want them to do.
I'm fascinated by the whole brewing thing. And my idea is I'd love to join the team that picks the names, but what about the team that picks the brew? And somebody sits around, you know what? We need a peanut butter beer. I mean, how does that happen? What do you know about that?
Well, I mean,
Well, that's why we have a brewmaster. I mean, he's always toying with new recipes, and he's been a very accomplished home brewer for years, award-winning home brewer, and we're just kind of leaving that up to him. I think we're going to start out with 12 beers on tap, 12 to 18 eventually, and so we're going to come out with our flagship beers, are the ones that are there all the time. Do some special releases, some seasonal things, and just keep it going. We're just so excited. People love to spend money on beer. They do not like to spend money on their car. So that's, we figured this would be a fun business that, people would actually.
That was the driving factor, actually.
I see. So when the person at the counter says, that's too much, you say, go down to the brewery and have a beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go spend $8 on a pint.
To the brewery for nothing.
Yeah. But, Carm, to finish answering your question, Carm, it's like anything else. You put a beer out, you taste it yourself and say, okay, this is pretty good beer. Then you put it out to the general public and they'll tell you whether or not it's any good. And, if it is, it'll sell. And if it sells enough, then it stays in the tap room.
Okay. So do you make a whole huge batch, or when you're trying, do you make small batches?
No. We can make half batches. We have a 40-barrel brew house, which a barrel of beer, a single barrel beer, is 133 gallons. And so our brew house is a 40-barrel brew house. Yeah, you can do the math. It's a lot of beer.
I'm going to do that. 0, 12, 30, 5,300 gallons?
Well, I don't know. I haven't done the math.
I just did. 133 times 40, right?
Yeah, that's gallons. And how many ounces are in a gallon? Or there's 12 ounces in a glass of beer.
128, right? 128?
Yeah.
Wow,
that's a lot of beer.
That's a lot of pints or glasses or whatever.
Yeah.
What a interesting. This was fun, interesting departure. If I'm ever in Virginia and you get this place open, we have to stop by, man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We'd love to have you.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I'd love to bring my microphone, my studio, and
Absolutely.
by 10 o'clock that night, we should do an episode.
Oh,
or not.
At your own risk.
At my own risk. Perfect. We'll bring all your automotive buddies over, and say, hey.
Hey, the good thing is we have a permanent place to have our Titan Christmas parties from now on.
That's right.
Oh, I see. That's why
never have to worry about that again.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm spending millions so that we can have a party place. I know.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, look at it. It's been fun. Thank you for my slight education on brewing, even though I have so much more to learn. We probably need to have you back once this thing is a year under your belt. I'm looking for the comparative to, you're not doing this as a hobby. You're doing this as a business. You're running your business as your shop as a business, not a hobby. And I think that's one of the defining moments for small businesses. Kim, you talked about the struggle with small business and the onslaught that they have from government and the taxes and the regulations and stuff. But if it's a hobby that you're playing in, it's harder than if you were really running a business and had to navigate all those government regs and stuff. So
every once in a while we run into someone who says, oh, this is my hobby. I'm going to turn it into a business. And I just cringe because you can't make it last. Yeah. It can't be a hobby. It's just,
And
unless
that's one of the
you
messages.
just want to lose money and it's just not going to work.
I get it. Well, look, at continued success for both of you. I hope you can meet your August 1st date to open Hidden Wit Brewing. And good luck on the 4th store. Kim, when you're president someday, will you remember us lonely podcasters here?
Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm going to hold you to it. I got that on tape.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh my God. Kimberly and Butch Taylor, Titan Auto, soon to have their 4th store in North and South Chesterfield, Virginia, and soon to have Hidden Wit Brewing Company in Mosley, Virginia. It was great. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Carm. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.